When my mom passed, my dad inherited our house and $33 million. Then he threw me out, saying, "Go die somewhere else. Your mother isn't here to shield you anymore." Days later, the lawyer laughed. "Did you even look at the will?" He went white because the will said, "Can you imagine a father so utterly cold, so devoid of human feeling, that he practically cheered the day his wife died?" Because 3 days after we buried my mother, he stood in her favorite room, a sickening smirk on his face, clutching her will like a winning lottery ticket. $33 million, the family home, total control, everything he'd been waiting for. He looked at me, his own daughter, with eyes I'd never seen before, hard and glittering with malice, and hissed words that will forever echo in my nightmares. "Pack your things. Your mother can't protect you anymore." What he didn't know, what he absolutely couldn't have known, was that my mother, Eleanor, had been watching him too. For 2 agonizing years, while he counted down her final days, she meticulously documented every cruelty, every stolen credit, every single betrayal. And while he plotted his petty takeover, she was quietly, brilliantly, building an extraordinary legal trap that would utterly obliterate him at the exact moment he thought he'd finally won everything. This is my story, Olivia Henderson, 32 years old, and how 8 years of humiliation ended with my father losing his entire empire in front of 300 witnesses. All because he couldn't hide his true, ugly nature for just 30 more days. For 8 long years, I was the ghost architect of Henderson Development Corporation. My father, Richard, was the charismatic CEO, the face on every magazine cover, the man who accepted awards for innovative design. Me, I was the permanent intern, with an MIT degree, drawing blueprints until 3 a.m. while he took all the credit at 9 a.m. board meetings. Mom, she'd try to intervene gently. "Richard," she'd say, "Olivia designed the entire Metro Plaza complex. Perhaps some recognition." He'd cut her off, his voice dripping with disdain. "Recognition is earned, Eleanor, not handed out like participation trophies. Metro Plaza won 3 architectural awards, by the way. My name appeared nowhere on them. I still have the email he sent that week. It burns in my memory. Don't sign the drawings. You're not at that level yet. This is for your own professional development." My salary? $45,000 a year, when someone with my experience should have been earning 3 times that. But I stayed. For Mom. For the fragile peace she so desperately tried to maintain in our fractured family. Then came March 2024. The oncologist's words were clinical, precise. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. 3 to 6 months. My world shattered. But Mom, she just got busy. She started meeting a man named Michael Torres every Tuesday. "Estate planning," she'd say, a strange, almost knowing smile playing on her lips. Just making sure everything's in order. My father, meanwhile, grew bolder, more callous with each week of her decline. By September, he didn't even pretend to review my work before stamping his name on it. Century Tower, a $500 million mixed-use development, 47 floors of revolutionary sustainable design. I poured 14 months of my life into it, perfecting every detail, creating something that would redefine Boston's skyline. "This needs to be flawless," he told me. "The investors expect Henderson excellence." I delivered beyond excellence. But when the preliminary designs went to the investors, the cover letter screamed, "I'm pleased to present my vision for Century Tower." Richard Henderson. "It's just business protocol, sweetheart," Mom would whisper from her bed when I showed her. She'd lost 40 pounds by then, so frail. "Your time will come." But that September, I discovered something far more insidious. Hidden among Mom's papers, during one of her chemo sessions, I found property transfer documents dated 2 years earlier. My father had systematically stripped her of everything, the house, investment properties, even her inheritance from her own parents. All into his name alone. "Tax purposes," he calmly told her through a morphine haze. "Protecting our family's future," as if I was ever truly part of his definition of family. The night before she died, Mom grabbed my hand with surprising strength. "The foundation," she whispered, her eyes wide. "Remember the foundation, Olivia?" I thought it was the morphine, just delirium. I had no idea she was giving me the key to everything. October 15th, 3:47 a.m. My mother took her last breath, my hand still in hers, my heart breaking. My father, he was in the guest room, claiming her medical equipment was too noisy for his sleep. When he finally appeared at 6 a.m., showered, perfectly dressed, his first words weren't, "How are you?" or "I'm so sorry." It was, "How long?" Then, without a glance at me, he pulled out his phone and called his lawyer. Not the funeral home. His lawyer. "Eleanor passed. I need the will reading. Immediately. Today." That afternoon, in Mom's favorite living room, his golf buddy and personal attorney, James Whitman, read the will. Every dollar, every property, the entire $33 million estate, all to him. "Nothing for Olivia," I whispered, my voice barely audible. Whitman wouldn't even look at me. My father, though? He just leaned back in Mom's chair, a smug, triumphant smile on his face. "Your mother trusted me to take care of things." "Don't worry, Olivia," he sneered. "You'll be fine." The way he said fine, it was a threat, a promise of my utter ruin. My skin crawled. Without Mom's protection, I was utterly exposed. No employment contract, no official title beyond intern. 8 years of work, and my resume would look empty. He owned the house, the company, even the desk where I designed Century Tower. Everything was his. The very next morning, my keycard to the office, deactivated. "Just a system glitch," he'd yelled, loud enough for the whole floor to hear. Olivia's still learning our protocols. Still learning. But Century Tower, that was my ace. My design. Breaking ground in 3 months. The investors had approved my plans, and any major change would trigger a $50 million penalty. The final funding presentation was set for October 25th at the Ritz-Carlton, 300 of the city's most powerful people. If I left now, he'd crush me, label me an incompetent intern. He'd destroy my reputation. Then, an email popped up. "Torres and Associates. Urgent matter regarding your mother's estate. Please contact immediately." I almost deleted it. What could be urgent about an estate that had already been distributed? I walked past my father's study, and I heard him on the phone booming. My vision, my masterpiece. My masterpiece. Mom's funeral was October 18th. My father, the consummate performer, delivered a eulogy dripping with false grief. He painted her as the perfect, subservient wife. Then at the reception, he raised a glass. And in front of Boston's entire elite, he announced my termination. "Olivia will be transitioning out," he declared, staring right at me. "It's time she found her own path, away from her father's shadow." And then the cold-blooded blow. The house, of course, will be transitioned as well. A fresh start is best for everyone. The air went out of the room. People gasped. Even the mayor looked uncomfortable. And, as he walked past me, he leaned in, a chilling whisper. "Find somewhere else to die, Olivia. Your mother isn't here to protect you anymore." That's when Uncle Harold, Mom's brother, slipped me a card. Michael Torres. "Call him," he urged. "Tonight." Later, in his study, reeking of scotch and victory, he reiterated his ultimatum. "You have 48 hours now." I stood my ground, my voice trembling with fury. I designed Century Tower. Every single detail. The files are all time-stamped. He finally looked up, his eyes like ice. "Everything created on company time belongs to the company. And I am the company." I was seething. Mom would be disgusted. "Your mother was weak," he spat. "She coddled you. Made you believe you were something special. You're not. You're a mediocre architect who got lucky being born into the right family." My voice cracked. "You need me for the presentation next week." He actually laughed. "I've already hired Brennan Associates. Your amateur work needs professional polish anyway." "Amateur!" I yelled. Metro Plaza won 3 awards. My awards. My designs. My signature on every document. He stood over me, monstrous. "You have nothing. You're nothing without the Henderson name. And after Monday, you won't even have that. I'll go to the investors myself." I cried. He just smiled. "With what credentials? What proof? You're an intern who's about to be fired for incompetence and trying to steal credit for her father's work. Who do you think they'll believe?" His final words were a hammer blow. 8 a.m. Monday. "Be gone, or security will escort you out." 7 a.m. October 19th, Michael Torres met me in his sprawling office on the 25th floor. "Your mother," he said, his expression grave, "was a remarkable woman, far more strategic than anyone realized." He laid a folder on the table. The will my father read? It was real, but utterly incomplete. An addendum. My hands shook as I read it. If my father committed any act of cruelty, abandonment, or denied my inheritance within 30 days of Mom's passing, all assets would immediately transfer to the Eleanor Henderson Foundation, with me as permanent chairwoman. Mom knew. Oh God, she knew everything. She documented everything. The stolen credits, the financial exploitation, even his affairs, plural. Then Torres showed me a video. Mom, thin but determined, looked right into the camera. Dated June 2024. "If you're watching this, Olivia," she said, her voice steady despite the pain medication, "it means your father has shown his true nature." My breath hitched. For 2 years, she'd been moving assets right under his nose. He'd signed every document, never reading a word. The foundation already owned 45% of Henderson Development. With Mom's inheritance, I'd have 51%. And his words at the funeral? Find somewhere else to die. That was the trigger. "I have 12 sworn affidavits from witnesses," Torres said. "Plus this." He played an audio recording. My father's voice crystal clear. "Find somewhere else to die. Your mother isn't here to protect you anymore." "When do we act?" I asked, my voice surprisingly steady. Torres smiled, a glint in his eye. "The Century Tower presentation. Maximum impact. Maximum witnesses." Later that day, another email from him. "Your office has been cleaned out. Belongings by the service entrance. Don't make me call security." Torres just nodded. "Let him think he's won, Olivia. 5 more days." Late that night, October 20th, I snuck back into the building using an old maintenance code. My keycard was dead, but my fingerprints were all over his masterpieces. The server room hummed. Every design, every revision, every timestamp was there. 47 versions of Century Tower, all logged under my user ID. The creation times, 2:47 a.m., 3:01 a.m., 4:32 a.m. While my father was home sleeping, I was creating his masterpiece. Then Derek, the night security guard who'd watched me enter at ungodly hours for years, appeared. "Heard what happened at the funeral," he said quietly. "Your mom was a good woman." He then told me about the security footage. 7 years of my late nights, every entry, every exit backed up off-site. "My cousin works at the backup facility," he said. "He can get you copies. Legal copies with authentication certificates." He paused. "Your mom brought my daughter soup when she was sick. Your father, he doesn't even know my name after 15 years. 2 terabytes of proof downloaded." "Thank you," I whispered. "Make it count," he replied. The next morning, my phone buzzed with unexpected messages. 3 senior architects, reaching out privately. "Saw what happened at the funeral. It's not right. We all know who really designed Century Tower." Then, a call from James Mitchell, chairman of Henderson Development's board of directors. He'd been there 15 years. "We knew it was your work, Olivia," he admitted. "Your mother asked us not to act sooner. She said she had a plan." He slid a folder across the table. 5 other board members were ready to support a no-confidence vote. The tide was turning. October 22nd, I got the formal letter. "Your employment with Henderson Development Corporation is terminated for failure to meet performance standards." He'd CC'd the entire industry contact list. By noon, LinkedIn blew up with headlines about nepotism gone wrong and entitled millennials. Mitchell texted, "He just gave us cause. Document everything." Torres replied, "Perfect." The next day, October 23rd, my father couldn't resist twisting the knife deeper. He arranged a press conference. 50 journalists. "Before we discuss Century Tower," he began, his voice heavy with false regret, "I need to address recent personnel changes. It's never easy when family members can't meet professional standards." He paused for effect, the consummate performer. Unfortunately, despite every opportunity, she couldn't perform at the level Henderson Development requires. I had to make the difficult decision to terminate her employment for her own good. Really, she needs to find her own path, not ride on her father's coattails. A reporter asked about the rumors I designed Century Tower. My father laughed. Olivia assisted with some basic drafting. Nothing creative, nothing structural. The vision, the innovation? She simply doesn't have it. The internet ate it up. He announced Century Tower as my masterpiece. Torres just watched, a knowing smile on his face. He's destroying himself with his own arrogance, he murmured. Your mother would have loved this. Then my phone buzzed. Derek. Footage authenticated. Ready when you are. October 24th, Torres's office was a war room. Lawyers, accountants, a court reporter. The plan was locked down. Judge Martinez would sign the restraining order an hour before the presentation. We reviewed everything. The funeral audio, the 12 affidavits, my server logs, Derek's security footage. But Mom's video, that was the masterpiece. Her face, still fierce. I, Eleanor Henderson, being of sound mind, do testify that my husband, Richard Henderson, has systematically stolen credit for our daughter Olivia's architectural work for 8 years, she said. Century Tower is entirely Olivia's creation. I have the original sketches she drew at our kitchen table, dated and signed. Richard has never drawn a single line of it. My heart pounded. This plays after he finishes bragging? I asked. At the perfect moment, Torres confirmed. The Hotel AV team, the board members, everyone was in place. Ready for the emergency vote. October 25th, 3 p.m. The Ritz-Carlton ballroom glittered. Crystal chandeliers, floor-to-ceiling windows. 300 of Boston's elite. My name wasn't on the guest list, of course. But Torres arrived with a court order. She's with me, he said. As we walked in, my father, looking every inch the emperor in his Italian suit, took the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, he boomed. Today you'll witness the culmination of my life's work. Century Tower isn't just a building. It's a revolution in sustainable urban design. He showed my designs, my notes, his name plastered over them. My vision. My masterpiece, he crowed. Then Torres stood. Excuse me, Mr. Henderson. My father's smile faltered. The room turned. I'm afraid there's a legal matter that requires immediate attention. My father tried to dismiss it, to laugh it off. This is a private event. Perhaps we can address whatever this is after. Torres walked toward the stage. I insist we address it now. This is a court order superseding privacy. My father, playing to the crowd, made a dismissive gesture. You see the challenges of success. Even at moments of triumph, there are always complications. He looked right at me, disdain in his eyes. Some people just can't accept when they're not part of a story. He clicked to the next slide, the environmental systems I'd spent 6 months perfecting. The energy efficiency alone will save 30% annually, he boasted. I conceived this system after years of studying. He continued, his voice growing more grandiose, clicking to the atrium design. It took me months to perfect these angles, to balance beauty with function. I knew those angles intimately. I'd calculated them during Mom's chemotherapy sessions, finding peace in the precision while she slept. 10 years of my expertise went into this project, he crowed, which is why I had to make difficult decisions about my team. Some people simply weren't capable of understanding this level of sophistication. The mayor nodded approvingly. Investors leaned forward, captivated. In fact, just this week, I had to terminate an employee who claimed credit for this work. Can you imagine an intern with no real experience trying to steal recognition for Century Tower? Gasps rippled through the audience. He was publicly destroying me in front of everyone who mattered in Boston. Then, he looked right at me, his voice dripping with venom. Sometimes, people just need to learn their place. Mr. Henderson. Torres's voice cut through the air. Are you finished? I'm just getting started, he snapped. Perfect. So are we. Torres walked onto the stage with the confidence of a man holding 4 aces. The court order in his hand caught the light. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the interruption, but this is a matter of legal urgency. He held up the document. This is a court order from Judge Martinez, signed this morning, regarding the estate of Eleanor Henderson and the rightful ownership of the intellectual property being presented today. My father's face shifted from annoyance to genuine concern. This is highly inappropriate. What's inappropriate, Mr. Henderson? Torres's voice boomed across the silent ballroom. Is fraud. He pulled out his phone and connected it to the sound system. My father lunged for the microphone, but Torres sidestepped him. 200 witnesses heard you say this to your daughter on October 18th at her mother's funeral. The recording played crystal clear through the ballroom speakers. Find somewhere else to die. Your mother isn't here to protect you anymore. Gasps echoed through the room. The mayor's mouth fell open. People pulled out their phones, recording. This, Torres continued, triggered an addendum to Eleanor Henderson's will. All assets, including the $33 million you thought you inherited, immediately transferred to the Eleanor Henderson Foundation. Olivia Henderson is the permanent chairwoman of that foundation. This is ridiculous, my father sputtered. Furthermore, Torres raised his voice over my father's protests. The foundation already owns 45% of Henderson Development Corporation through holdings Eleanor established over the past 2 years. With the inherited assets, Miss Henderson now controls 51% of the company you claim to run. The board members stood up. James Mitchell spoke clearly. We need an emergency board meeting now. I walked onto the stage, carrying my laptop and a USB drive. The ballroom was dead silent, 300 pairs of eyes tracking my movement. My father stood frozen, his face cycling through disbelief, rage, and pure, unadulterated fear. Since we're discussing Century Tower, I said, my voice steady, betraying none of the earthquake inside me. Let's look at the real story. I plugged the USB into the presentation system. The screen changed, showing file metadata. 47 versions of Century Tower designs. Every single one created under my user ID. Look at the timestamps, I urged. 2:47 a.m., 3:01 a.m., 4:32 a.m. While Mr. Henderson was sleeping, I was creating his masterpiece. The screen shifted to security footage. 7 years of surveillance video, authenticated by the building systems. Here I was, January 15th, working until dawn on Metro Plaza. February 9th, all night on Harbor Square. And for Century Tower, 212 hours logged after midnight. Derek's compilation reel showed me entering the building in darkness and leaving at sunrise, day after day, year after year. James Mitchell stood up. I can confirm this. The board has suspected for years that Olivia was the true architect behind Henderson Development's success. The screen changed again. My mother's face appeared, thin but fierce. I, Eleanor Henderson, being of sound mind, do testify that my husband, Richard Henderson, has systematically stolen credit for our daughter Olivia's architectural work for 8 years. The room erupted. Journalists typed frantically. Investors pulled out phones, making urgent calls. Every design you've seen today, I said, looking at the audience, not my father. Every innovation you've admired, I created them. The evidence is irrefutable. The truth is finally public. My father's mouth moved, but no sound came out. Torres returned to the microphone, his voice cutting through the chaos. As of this moment, the Eleanor Henderson Foundation legally owns all disputed assets, the $33 million, the properties, and most significantly, 51% of Henderson Development Corporation. He turned to my father. Mr. Henderson, you no longer have controlling interest in the company you've been running. 3 investors in the front row stood up immediately. We are withdrawing our memorandums of understanding, one announced. We invested in Century Tower based on fraudulent representations. Our $200 million commitment is void. Another added, mine too. My father finally found his voice. This is entrapment. It's a setup. It's justice, Mitchell said, stepping onto the stage. As chairman of the board, I'm calling an emergency meeting right now. He looked at the 11 board members, scattered through the audience. Motion to vote no confidence in CEO Richard Henderson. Seconded, called another board member. All in favor. 11 hands shot up. Only my father's remained down. Motion carries. Richard Henderson, you are terminated as CEO of Henderson Development Corporation. Effective immediately. Security guards appeared at the stage edges, not to remove me this time, but to escort my father if necessary. The board nominates Olivia Henderson as interim CEO, Mitchell continued. I stepped forward. I appreciate the nomination, but I decline. I'll serve as chief design officer, the role I've actually been filling for 8 years. The board can search for a CEO who leads with integrity. The audience erupted in applause. My father stood alone on the stage, his empire crumbling in real time. "You can't do this," he whispered, his voice raw. "It's already done," Torres replied. "Your wife made sure of that." "We also need to address the false representation to investors," Mitchell announced. "Mr. Henderson, you exposed this company to massive liability by claiming credit for designs you didn't create." "This is my company. I built it from nothing," my father roared. "With your wife's money and your daughter's talent," Mitchell countered, unflinching. "Security, please escort Mr. Henderson from the stage." 2 guards approached. My father backed away, his face purple with rage. "You ungrateful!" He pointed at me. "After everything I've done for you." "You mean everything you've stolen from me," I said, my voice level professional. 8 years of my work, $45,000 a year, while you build my designs at $200 an hour. That ends today. The mayor stood up, clearly distancing himself. "I think I've seen enough. The city will be reviewing all Henderson development contracts for potential fraud." A Boston Globe reporter raised her hand. "Miss Henderson, will you continue with Century Tower?" "Absolutely," I replied, "but with full transparency about who designed it. The contracts will be amended to reflect the truth." "What about your father's role?" she asked. I looked at him, still standing between the security guards. "The board will determine if there's any position suitable for his actual skills." "I suggest advisory consultant," Mitchell said. "Limited authority, reporting to the chief design officer." "If he accepts." My father's humiliation was complete. From CEO to consultant, reporting to the daughter he'd exploited. "Never," he spat. "Then you have no role at all," Mitchell replied simply. "Your choice." The guards escorted him toward the exit, past 300 witnesses to his downfall. As security led my father away, he made one last desperate attempt to salvage something. "This is a conspiracy. My wife was mentally incompetent when she made these changes. I'll challenge every document." Torres pulled out his tablet. Eleanor anticipated that claim. She had 3 independent psychiatrists evaluate her monthly from January to September 2024. All confirmed her complete mental competence. "Would you like to see the reports?" My father stopped struggling. The fight drained from his face as the full scope of Mom's planning became terrifyingly clear. His phone rang. He answered on speaker, probably from habit. "Richard, this is Charles from the country club. The board held an emergency vote. Your membership has been revoked. Effective immediately." Another call came through instantly. "Mr. Henderson, Boston Business Alliance. Your keynote at next month's summit has been canceled." The Globe photographer captured it perfectly. My father, phone in hand, watching his entire social structure collapse. The photo would run on tomorrow's front page under the headline, "Henderson's House of Cards." "Dad," I said quietly. Everyone turned to listen. "Mom left you a letter. It's in the foundation documents." Torres handed him an envelope. My father's hands shook as he opened it. I knew what it said. Mom had shown me her draft. "Richard, I gave you 30 years to be the man I thought you were. You chose differently. I'm protecting Olivia, not from spite, but from love. The foundation will support you with a reasonable salary if you work honestly. Your choice as always." He crumpled the letter. "I don't need charity for my dead wife or ungrateful daughter." "Then you need to leave," Mitchell said firmly. "Now." Security escorted him out. 300 people watched in silence as Richard Henderson left his own event in utter disgrace. Within an hour, the story exploded across every platform. The Globe's website crashed from traffic. Breaking: Henderson's CEO exposed. Daughter reveals 8 years of stolen designs. By October 26th, it was trending #1 in Boston. Century Tower, Truth, had 2.3 million views. The security footage compilation Derek had provided went viral, a time-lapse of me working through thousands of nights while my father took credit for every sunrise. CNN Business picked it up by noon. The architecture of deception, how one woman exposed corporate fraud from within. Forbes ran a profile. Olivia Henderson, the real genius behind Boston skyline. My phone exploded with messages. 15 architecture firms offered me partnerships. MIT called, wanting me to speak at their Women in Architecture Symposium. The American Institute of Architects fast-tracked my fellowship application. But the most meaningful responses came from other women in the industry. Thank you for being brave enough to speak up. Your story gave me courage to document my own situation. My boss has been stealing my designs for 3 years. I'm meeting with a lawyer tomorrow. The Wall Street Journal's analysis was particularly damning for my father. Henderson Development stock rose 12% following leadership change, suggesting investors have more confidence in transparent management. Turns out, integrity was profitable. The Century Tower investors reconvened that afternoon. All 8 major firms reinstated their commitments, but with one condition: I had to be the lead architect on record. Finally, one said, "We know we're investing in the real talent." They even increased their commitment to $500 million with additional funding for a mentorship program I proposed, bringing young female architects into major projects. The transformation at Henderson Development was immediate and thorough. Mitchell led the board through a complete restructuring. First order of business, a forensic audit of all projects. 5 senior architects who'd been complicit in my father's deception were terminated. They'd signed their names to my work, knowing the truth. Clean house, clean slate, Mitchell announced at the all-hands meeting. We implemented an attribution transparency protocol. Every design contribution was tracked, credited, and compensated fairly. Junior architects would never again see their work stolen. The talent was always here, I told the board. It was just being suppressed by one man's ego. The family aftermath was predictably complex. Relatives who'd been silent for years suddenly remembered I existed. Aunt Linda, my father's sister, called gushing. "Olivia, darling, I always knew you were the talented one. Your father could never have designed something so brilliant." "You were at the funeral, Linda," I said, my voice steady. "You heard what he said. You said nothing." "Well, family dynamics are complicated," she stammered. "They're not," I shot back. "You chose his money over my dignity. That's simple." Click. My policy was simple. Silent bystanders didn't get a front row seat to my triumph. But Uncle Harold, Mom's brother, he was different. He'd slipped me Torres's card, the first breadcrumb on the trail to justice. "Your mother planned this for 2 years," he told me over coffee. "She made me promise to act only if your father crossed the line at the funeral. She knew he would. His cruelty is strongest when he thinks he's won." He paused. "She also wanted to make sure you were strong enough to handle what came after." My father maintained complete silence for 3 months. No calls, no texts, no contact through lawyers. He'd moved from the family home to a downtown apartment. His penthouse sold to cover legal fees and debts. He was a ghost in the city he once dominated. The foundation provided him a living allowance, comfortable, but not luxurious. He'd never starve, but he'd never again live in penthouses or drive Italian sports cars. The social consequences cut deeper. Boston's elite operated on reputation, and his was irreparably damaged. Former friends crossed streets to avoid him. Business partners refused his calls. Then, 3 months after the revelation, a formal letter arrived at the foundation. Handwritten, not typed. My father's distinctive script, but somehow different, smaller, more careful. "Olivia," it read, "I've spent 3 months in therapy mandated by the board if I want any role at the company. Dr. Brennan has forced me to confront truths I've avoided for 60 years. I see now what I refused to see for 32 years. You were the talent, the vision, the future. I was just the salesman who got lucky marrying your mother and fathering you. My narcissism, that's what Dr. Brennan calls it, made me believe I deserved credit for everything around me. Now, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for the chance to earn a small place in the company I claimed to build, but you actually created." Mitchell brought it to the board. He's requesting the advisory position. Limited hours, reporting to Olivia, focusing only on vendor relationships where he actually has expertise. "What do you think?" they asked me. "He can have 3 months probation," I said. "1 false claim, 1 stolen credit, and he's gone forever." They looked surprised. "That's generous." "It's what Mom would want," I replied. 6 months later, March 2025, The Century Tower groundbreaking ceremony drew 1,000 attendees. The mayor spoke about Boston's new era of transparent development. The governor praised ethical leadership. I stood at the podium where my father had fallen, but I felt no satisfaction in the parallel. This wasn't about revenge. It was about building something real. Century Tower rises not from deception, but from truth, I began. Every beam, every angle, every innovation comes from acknowledged talent and credited work. This building will stand as proof that integrity and success aren't mutually exclusive. My father sat in row 10, not on the stage, not in VIP seating. He wore a simple suit, not Italian. He took notes during my speech, actually listening for perhaps the first time. After the ceremony, he approached. We'd had 6 months of limited interaction, strictly professional. The speech was excellent, he said quietly. Your mother would be proud. She knew this day would come. She knew everything, didn't she? I asked. She knew enough. He nodded, started to leave, then turned back. I'm proud, too, for what that's worth now. It's worth something, I said. Not everything. Not yet. But something. The new boundaries with my father were clear, professional, non-negotiable. Monthly dinners, last Thursday of each month, 7 to 9 p.m. sharp. Not at the family home, which had been sold, proceeds to the foundation. We met at quiet restaurants, public but not prominent. How's the Riverside project? He'd ask. On schedule, I'd reply. The client appreciates the transparent billing. I remember when I pitched them initially, he'd correct himself. He'd wince, but no longer argue. Dr. Brennan had apparently made progress. At the office, interaction was strictly professional. He attended vendor meetings where his relationships still had value, but every email went through Jennifer Park first. Every suggestion was documented. Trust, once shattered, couldn't be rebuilt with apologies alone. The hardest conversation came in April. I want to apologize publicly, he said. Dr. Brennan thinks it would help. Help who? I asked. Me, obviously, but maybe others, too. Men like me who've stolen credit, who've suppressed talent. A public apology would seem performative now, I told him. Then what would be enough? He asked. Time. Consistency. Years of respecting boundaries without pushing them. You stole 8 years from me. You don't get to rush redemption. He accepted it. What choice did he have? We're colleagues, I told him firmly. Not the family we were before. Not enemies. But professional associates with a complicated history. That's all we may ever be. Your mother hoped for more. Mom hoped for a lot of things. She settled for protecting me instead. That's her real legacy, knowing when hope isn't enough. In the end, my mother's greatest gift wasn't the money or even the company control. It was the permission to choose myself. Her final letter, dated 1 week before she died, laid it all out. My dearest Olivia, if you're reading this, your father has shown you who he really is, and you've shown the world who you really are. I didn't give you wealth. That was always yours, earned through your brilliant mind and dedicated hands. I simply created a mechanism for truth to surface. Power isn't about controlling others. It's about creating something meaningful, something that outlasts our individual egos. Your designs will stand for generations. Your father's lies have already crumbled. I stayed longer than I should have, hoping he would change, hoping you'd never need these protections. But hope without action is just illusion. So, I acted quietly, carefully, building a fortress of legal documents and financial structures that would activate only if needed. You may wonder why I didn't do this sooner. The truth is, I needed to know you were ready, not just for the confrontation, but for what comes after. Power requires wisdom. Success demands grace. You have both now. Don't seek revenge. Seek restoration of your name, your work, your worth. Set boundaries not as walls, but as bridges with toll gates. Some people earn free passage through consistent respect. Others pay the price of limited access. And some find the bridge permanently closed. All three are valid choices. Your father is who he is. That's his burden to carry. Your burden is choosing how much of his weight you'll help bear. Choose wisely. Choose based on your healing, not his comfort. Build beautiful things, my darling. Build them with truth. All my love, Mom. I folded the letter, returning it to the safe. Tomorrow, Century Tower's first beam would be placed. My name would be on the cornerstone, finally, rightfully. The foundation had grown to $100 million in assets. The mentorship program had expanded nationwide. My story had inspired legislative proposals for attribution rights in creative industries. But tonight, I stood in my own apartment, bought with my own money, looking at my own designs on my own drafting table. No one else's name would ever overshadow mine again. That's the real inheritance my mother left me. The unshakable knowledge that I deserve to be seen, credited, and valued for exactly who I am. Boundaries aren't cruel, they're necessary. Self-respect isn't selfish, it's survival. And sometimes, the greatest love a parent can show is teaching their child when to stop hoping and start protecting themselves. My story ends here, but I hope it sparks something in yours. Have you ever had to fight for your worth against someone who should have championed you? What did you do? Share your experiences in the comments below. I'm truly eager to hear them.